Well, it seems like I broke Skyrim. I've been messing around in Skyrim a lot lately, and I've basically broken this magic setup to the point where if I delve through a dungeon, I don't even see half the enemies I kill while they're alive. In fact, with the absolute most maxed out setup, you won't even recognize these dead enemies by the time you do find them. As you can see, this isn't going to be some boring stat maxing approach, which, let's be honest, we've all seen before and isn't nearly as entertaining as finding out a way to actually change part of the gameplay itself. I can tell you that this setup is 100% legit with no console commands or typical glitches you see around to cheat your weapon damage up into the thousands. As the video goes on, you'll see things just get crazier and crazier as we add more to the mix, with the final setup we build to at the end being so stupid but so much fun that you're probably going to start a new Skyrim playthrough. If you enjoy it, be sure to hit like and do share it around with as many people as possible so they know what they can really do in Skyrim. This absolutely broken and ridiculously overpowered spell combining setup comes courtesy of Skyrim's Anniversary Edition and a whole bunch of my in-game testing, but even if you don't have Anniversary Edition, I'll still be showing you some pretty cool things you can do with cloak spells that you probably didn't know about. Skyrim's cloaks can get way crazier than you think, and even though Anniversary Edition came out about a year and a half ago, I only just discovered what's possible with this setup this week. With the right stack of perks, spells, and other requirements, you too can achieve the Broke Cloak playstyle. My broken setup all started with my video I recently uploaded exploring the bloodworm helm. It's gone extremely well, so I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supported it. In it, I show you how you can use Necromage, a restoration perk that boosts your spell's effectiveness against undead, in addition to the bloodworm helm, to take a vampire to new heights. As a vampire, you are undead, and therefore Necromage, which makes spells against undead more effective, grants you, the player, a variety of buffs. The unofficial patch prevents this Necromage bonus, but you can still run it with the USS EP Necromage fix mod to address that if you're using it. The bloodworm helm then stacks another Necromage magnitude bonus on top, allowing you to get enhanced shouts, perks, spells, and even powers, such as a faster adrenaline rush or more spell-absorbent dragon skin. Well, one of the things I discovered was that I could actually boost the range of my elemental cloak spells. That's Flame Cloak, Frost Cloak, Lightning Cloak, and even Whirlwind Cloak works too. The reason for this is that these spells are casted onto the player, who is a vampire, and therefore they are stronger. It's hard to tell the exact mechanism for sure, but it seems that the magnitude of a cloak spell also increases its range, which makes sense when we talk about what Anniversary Edition has added. Anyway, using any of these cloaks as a vampire with the Necromage perk and the bloodworm helm will allow you to wear down foes far outside of actual melee attack strike range. Another neat thing which I've tested across multiple versions of Skyrim, including with the unofficial patch on, is that it seems if you press and hold down a dual cast of the spell with the dual casting perk, but don't actually cast the cloak and therefore don't lose the magicka required to release it, the damage increases drastically for quite some time. It seems to be removing my enemy's health at twice the speed as usual. So enjoy that if you've never tried it before. Just keep in mind your hands won't be free while doing this, so you'll want to evade enemies while their health is sapped away, and potentially while your companions, be them undead thralls or the ever-loyal Lydia, cut your foes to pieces. Also, fun fact, cloaks stay active underwater in case you need to deal with slaughterfish or other targets who've found themselves getting wet. So Anniversary Edition will be taking things to the next level, but there's still something missing from even a regular super cloak setup, and that's an untainted dual casting perk. And by untainted, I mean without the unofficial patch, because without it, the dual casting perk actually buffs the range of the cloak ridiculously, but with it simply extends the duration. So without the patch, you can get your flame cloak to reach really far when you dual cast it with this perk as a Necromage vampire who is also wearing the bloodworm helm. But you want the Anniversary Edition magic, and so do I, so what's the secret sauce? And how can we use it even with the unofficial patch still in use? Well, there's a creation in Skyrim's Anniversary Edition called Arcane Accessories, and it adds a bunch of robes and spells into the game. Simply don't use the additional unofficial patch add-on for Creation Club content, and you can enjoy a playthrough playthrough with the fixes you'd want from the regular patch with the unrestrained mayhem of Creation Club magic. One of the spells from Arcane Accessories is called Mara's Wrath, and it functions as a flame cloak for 30 seconds, dealing 16 damage per second instead of the flame cloak's 8, and also making undead up to level 26 flee for 30 seconds. You can enhance its damage further with the Augmented Flames perk, and in theory, if you're playing with no patches at all, you can use the Aspect of Terror perk from Illusion to boost the damage of Flame Cloak and Mara's Wrath even further, but will get pretty OP with just Augmented Flames alone. Keep in mind that regardless of what setup you use, Augmented Flames and Aspect of Terror are both only going to be damage related things, and they won't contribute to boosting the range out to ridiculous levels which we achieve. It seems that because Mara's Wrath has a higher base damage than the Flame Cloak spell, it has a larger range also. Combine this with the dual casting perk and the Necromage and Helm setup if you'd like for an even bigger area of effect than ever before. Because the largest boost now comes from the dual casting perk, you don't even need the helmet if you don't find it aesthetic. It does add range, but nothing insane comparative to the other boosts. Now speaking of boosts, there's another massive one to use. You can actually drink a potion of Fortify Destruction to boost the magnitude and therefore the range even further. Unlike Fortify Destruction enchantments, which reduce casting cost, the potions increase the spell's damage, and in the case of cloak spells, their range. If you're not into the alchemy skill, the Elixir of Destruction is the strongest base potion you can find, and it boosts destruction by 50% for 60 seconds. So we've got Mara's Wrath boosted in range by the dual casting perk, by the Necromage perk, by the Bloodworm helm, by a destruction potion, with damage boosted even more by the Augmented Flames perk, and with that trick of holding dual cast as we run around. We are incredibly powerful using this, but we want to be unstoppable, don't we? You may be slaughtering enemies before you even see them with Mara's Wrath, but this isn't even the most crazy, ridiculous, fun thing I've done in Skyrim in a very long time by far. No, there's way more to add to the setup here. So Arcane Accessories adds some other spells that I wanted to test out as well when I saw them. There's a bunch of elemental ones called Unbounded Flames, Unbounded Freezing, and Unbounded Storms. They're pretty powerful. The Flames one basically turns you into a fire turret, but I was more intrigued by the Frost and Shock-based ones as they seemed cloak-based in design. I tested the Frost one and found that I could increase the range with the dual casting perk, and it was fun to run around freezing those who got close enough full ice form style and damaging others in the area of effect. It was also extremely cool that the way this spell functions actually requires you to hold it down constantly, meaning that I could actually apply Mara's Wrath as a flame cloak that stays on, and then switch to Unbounded Freezing to add even more damage and absolutely clean up. If you want to stop here and use this setup, you can, but after what I've been doing, that freezing spell no longer excites me, simply because there's something far crazier to use, and that is Unbounded Storms. This spell is just ridiculous. Similarly to its frost-based counterpart, Unbounded Storms must be held down and functions as an additional cloak that will work in conjunction with Mara's Wrath. This expert spell has a base cost of 69 per second, but you can halve that with the Expert Destruction perk and reduce it even further, as you'd well know, all the way to 0 if you want to, with enchantments. The description states that targets in melee range take 40 shock damage per second to health and half that to magicka. Random lightning strikes deal an additional 30 damage. These random lightning strikes that come from a cloud hanging over your head are really cool, although do be warned they can hit friendly NPCs. Flame Cloak and Mara's Wrath, on the other hand, tend to be safe around friendlies, although Mara's Wrath can hit Sibyl Stentor in Solitude because the turn undead effect gets activated, seeing as she's a vampire. The description about the cloak aspect of the spell hitting targets in melee range though is very inaccurate. The range on this thing is much bigger than regular cloak spells and bigger than Mara's Wrath even without all our boosts, but when we do buff it up with Necromage, with dual casting, with the Bloodworm helm, and with a Fortify Destruction potion, the range on the cloak itself gets absolutely nuts. I can kill enemies so far away they don't really know I'm there even if I'm standing up straight looking right at them. Running around with this and Mara's Wrath is the most broken setup you could possibly want. However, yet again, there is more. While the Augmented Flames perk will increase the damage damage of Mara's Wrath or Flame Cloak but not the range, the Augmented Shock perk does somehow boost the damage and the range of Unbounded Storms. Quite a lot actually. Combined with all of the above, you'll be killing just about everything without trying and from really far away. May I remind you that at this stage you don't even need to keep the bloodworm helm for things to feel ridiculous, so you can run this setup with a whole variety of aesthetic builds. It's all up to you just how far you wish to take things. If you really want to take things to yet another new level, and this is completely optional, and some might say it's a waste of a perk point because the enemies are going to die anyway, but to truly max things out, you can tack on the Disintegrate perk after Augmented Shock. This makes shock spells disintegrate targets if their health is under 15%, which essentially in a way is like just reducing the health of all enemies by 15% if you think about it. If Mara's Wrath deals the final blow, their corpse will remain intact, but if your enemy is far away and only affected by shock or simply happens to die from the shock cloak's damage while you're up close, their body will simply be a pile of ash. With this broke cloak playstyle, you'll run into a bandit fort and kill the bandit on the level above you without even realizing it. You'll be running up into Valtheim towers and you'll already have slain the bandit crossing the bridge and killed the archer above the bridge by the time you get there. You will kill Draga while they're freshly emerging from their tombs, slay dragon priests as they're only just joining the fight, and very conveniently the shock cloak is also good at dealing damage to dragons while they're flying around you, and then when they get closer those lightning bolts come in handy on top, adding even more damage. Sometimes you'll go into a room expecting a dungeon boss, only to find they're an unrecognizable pile of ash on the floor. I think the fact that this magic damage literally goes through walls is one of the biggest advantages you can get in Skyrim. Keep in mind the cloak part of Unbounded Storms will work from obscene distances, but the lightning bolts themselves, while they go pretty far, do not have such sniper tier seek and destroy capabilities. If you don't mind reduced range and you just want some triple elemental chaos, you can also use Unbounded Storms in one hand with Unbounded Freezing in the other with Mara's Wrath active too. This is a ton of fun, but personally I can't get enough of the dual casted storms setup. This broken mage setup is the most crazy, ridiculous, fun and cool thing I've done in Skyrim in a very long time, and I hope you had as much fun watching this video as I did making it. Please do hit like if you enjoyed it, share it around to every Skyrim loving friend you have, and subscribe to get more Skyrim goodness in your life. My name's Michael, thanks for watching Fudge Muppet, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.